Hi, this is Matt. I'm going to talk about some simple communication tools that you can use in any relationship, friendship, or business relationship. This is going to help resolve things smoothly or give you more information about the other person. I did not come up with these on my own. I'm remixing and recombining material from other people, whom I will acknowledge in the description below. Okay, great. So this method is simple. I've broken it down into 11 steps, but before I give you those 11 simple steps, I'm going to give you some context. So first off, there's four different types of approaches to conflict. And so the first one, the one that is the most effective in relationships, is the win-win. And this is actually win-win or no deal. And this is fairly simple. It's you keep negotiating until all parties are happy. And like I said, there's 11 steps for that, and I'll go into those after I give you some more context. But that's the basics of it. And so this is gonna be more effort in the short run, and it's gonna pay off in the long run. So there's an initial investment that might be hard, and especially if you don't usually aren't used to doing this or you're not practiced at it, then it's gonna be harder at first. And then eventually once it's practiced, it's gonna be easy and makes that relationship pretty effortless. Okay, so that's the first one. So the second one is win-lose. And so this is kind of an all or nothing type of approach. And it's based on a zero-sum game. So if I get what I want, the other person loses what they want, and vice versa. And this is the context that this is good for are either dangerous situations. So we see this a lot in sports. If one team wins, one team loses. War, it's not good to lose wars. Business, I have to crush the competition. Court, I want to mop the floor with my opponent in court, for example. Or elections. One party gets elected, one party does not get elected. So and the thought process for this one is I care about me and I don't care about you. So that's pretty good for those dangerous situations or those competitive situations. And that tends to not work so well in things like a marriage. If you gave that message of I care about me, I don't care about you, that's gonna let the other person know that you don't really value the relationship. No one ever puts I don't care about you into their wedding vows, for example, for a good reason. So that's win-lose. Then there's lose-win. So this is, again, useful for dangerous situations. This one, when there's a power differential. So this is really great for mugging. So the thought process is, I will give you whatever you want. Just leave me alone, or let me be in peace, or whatever. And the priority here is safety first, then justice. So I'll give an example. I got mugged years and years ago, and the guy said, "Give me your money, or I'll take your life." And at that moment, I was not going to say like, "Oh, let's negotiate until we're both happy. We find a solution that we're both happy with." I was like, "Here's my $17.95. Can you let me go now?" And that was a good strategy for me because I'm staying here. So in that moment, I prioritized safety first. So I got to safety first, and then justice. So I called the cops. I took him to court. I did not think about justice in the moment. I was not trying to say like this isn't fair. I was thinking more about how do I get myself safe, and then I can think about addressing that issue. So that's great for that situation. It's not so great for your relationships. The way this works in relationships is if you tell the person, if someone says like, I would like this, and I say, okay, I'll give in, or I won't speak up for my needs, then over time, that's going to breed resentment. So if I'm stuffing, that's eventually going to explode. And I'll go from lose-win to win-lose. So it's not a good strategy for those marriage relationships, for example. Okay, last one is lose-lose. So this is compromise. And so whereas win-win is negotiating until all parties are happy, lose-lose is negotiating until all parties are unhappy. So some people are surprised at this. They said they think, oh, I've always heard compromise is a good thing. And that's the reason that a lot of people get away with compromise in their relationships is because of the win-win aspects of it. So that consideration, being considerate in their compromises, being thoughtful about the other person. When it doesn't work is when when there's sacrifice and resentment that doesn't help. So I'll explain more in a little bit. So let me just give an example of where this is helpful. So if there's a pre-existing power struggle, and in the context of that pre-existing power struggle, there's a costly conflict, then one or more parties sacrifice so everyone can move forward. So I'll give an example. I was talking to a realtor, and he was negotiating the price of a house between a buyer and a seller, and negotiations went back and forth, and they haggled the price so that the offers were within $100 of each other. And we're talking a 6-figure house, and they're down to like $100. So the realtor says, okay, I'm just gonna throw down the $100, and then we can move forward with this, because that costly conflict was not helpful for him. So he sacrificed so that he could move on. And everyone I tell that story to says, oh, that guy was smart. But if you just dropped $100 for no reason, like someone said, I want to spend this, I need $100 for cocaine and video games, and you gave it to them, most people would be like, oh, that wasn't too wise. So the way that works out in relationships is that that's great for real estate. It's good for haggling. It's good for wars. Like if two armies are fighting, they say, let's we're fighting over this piece of land. Let's just split it in half, and then we can all go home, and we can stop losing so many soldiers per day. So that's useful in those situations. It doesn't work in other types of relationships. So to illustrate this, I use an analogy. There are two brothers fighting over a pie, and one brother is fair-minded, and the other brother is not so fair-minded. So the fair-minded brother says, I got an idea. Let's take the pie, and I'll get half, and you get half. And the other brother says, I got a better idea. I'll take the whole pie for myself, and you get none. And a parent hears them fighting, and the parent comes over and says, okay, let's compromise. The bully brother gets 3/4 of the pie, and the fair-minded brother gets 1/4 of the pie. And so that's what can happen with compromise is the more entitled person can get a better deal just by being entitled. And so it can look like it's sacrificing, like the bully brother is being generous because he gave up a whole 1/4 of his pie, but really he was just continuing the unfairness of his suggestion. So if you remember averages from math in school, like the average of 5 and 3 is 4. So the average of unfair and fair is still unfair. So those are the 4 types of conflict. And so those, you can see, I hope I've shown that win-win works really well for the relationships, marriages, things like that. And then the other 3 are good for survival, or dangerous situations, and are actually backfire when put into a marriage relationship. Okay, so that's the context. And then next, I'll go through the 11 steps. So the first step is to ask which is more important, the relationship or the solution. So I'll give a couple examples. So one guy I was working with, his wife was cheating on him and smoking meth and gambling away the finances. And so the way that my client reacted to that was pretty poorly. And so we posed to him which is more important, to have a partner that's not doing those things, or to be with that partner specifically. Um, Most people I tell that story to say it's more important to not be out of that relationship, because it's more important to be with a partner that's not doing those behaviors. On the other end of the spectrum, a colleague of mine was working with someone, and the guy's wife would dump her laundry in front of the hamper, and no matter how many times he said, "Can you please take that extra step and put it in the hamper?" She didn't do it. And so that guy called my colleague, and my colleague says, which is more important, the relationship or the solution? Is it more important to be in that relationship and focus on all the good things that that relationship brings, or is it more important to have a partner that takes that extra step and puts that laundry in the hamper? And so most people I tell that story to say, yeah, it's more important to focus on all the good things about that relationship and just accept that behavior as a price of admission. So the second step is to put all solutions on hold. A lot of times in a conflict, we have an idea of a solution that's really going to work for us, and the other person has a solution that's really going to work for them. And the trouble comes when we try to impose our solution on the problem instead of breaking it down. And that brings us to step 3, which is boil those solutions that we put on hold in the previous step into essential elements. So, one of the ways that we can get at this is to ask, what does the other person, it's easier to start with the other person, so that we can get them to listen to us. What do they like about their solution? So, often we come into a conflict with reasons and justifications about why our solution is best, and that is helpful for if you're trying to argue something, but it's not really helpful if you're trying to negotiate something. So we want to put that on hold and try to figure out what do they like about their solution. And then once they feel like they've been heard, we can talk about, here's what I like about my solution, here are the essential elements, here's what are the things that are important to me. This next one comes in part from Marshall Rosenberg. In order to find out about what the other person likes about their solution, we're going to listen for 6 hours per conflict, or preferably until the other person feels heard. So that listening for 6 hours is going to do a couple things. One, I'm going to make sure that I really understand the other person, know where they're coming from, know what they're interested in. And the second part is it's gonna give a show of patience and curiosity that's gonna make things real easy. There was a guy that was working with horses, and he says, if you act like you have 6 hours, it takes 6 minutes. If you act like you have 6 minutes, guess how long it takes? It takes 6 hours. So I really want to focus uh, on giving that patience. The other option is I can just say to the other person, do you feel heard? And if they say yes, then it's really easy to move to the next steps. If they still don't feel like they're heard, then I can go back to the first option and keep listening and keep showing that I understand. So we can do a couple things in order to do some real active listening. And first, I want to be curious. I want to make sure, I want to reach the point where I could fill in from that person in a debate. So there could be a debate, they call in sick, and I'm there, and I understand their arguments and their concerns so well that I could take their place, even if I don't agree with them. So that's the goal I want to get there. And then the way to get there is to what Marshall calls the 3 rules of listening, and those are clarify, clarify, clarify. That's all I got to do. I just got to restate, show that I understand, and that's going to do a couple things. One, it's going to make sure that the person understands that I understand their concerns, and if I'm wrong about something, then I can just say, "Oh, you mean this instead," or the person can clarify. And the important thing is that my intent is in the right place, so that I'm trying to listen, I'm trying to understand them. And the third benefit it's going to have is going to make me look wiser than I really am. If I spend the time and make sure I understand what they have to say, it'll give me time to think about like what's a good response to this. So it helps me stall for time. And the other part is not only can I fill them in for the other person in a debate. One of the other ways that I say this is I want to be able to articulate the other person's position without contempt, and so I'm not gonna articulate it sarcastically, or I'm not gonna distort their arguments. I'm gonna make sure I can understand it from their point of view and their words. So that's step 4. All right, moving on to step 5. So if I've spent time with this and it's getting hard and I'm getting frustrated, one thing I can do is sleep on it. So I can mean this literally and metaphorically. So literally, I can go to sleep and maybe just that little bit of rest and that little bit of detachment is going to make it so I can see things a little more clearly and respond to things a little better. The second thing, metaphorically, is I can ask myself, what's really important to me in this situation? So, in the heat of a moment, I may get really attached to a certain solution. And then, after I think about, or I may say some part of that solution is really important to me. And then, after I think about it, I may say, you know what, that's not really important to me. It also may go the other way. In the moment, I may say, yeah, that's not really important to me. Then I take some time, the more I think about it, I can say, you know what, that is important to me. And so then I can articulate that to the other person, and that can help. So this is hard for some people, and especially men. I'm going to just say I see a lot of men wanting to solve, being uncomfortable with conflict, wanting to solve it, get it over with, because that's too tense. And so the key metric is someone going to die? And if no one's going to die, then that conflict can go on. It doesn't mean sweep it under the rug. It doesn't mean forget about it. But it means that it doesn't need to be solved today, and we can continue to talk about it and debate it. It's not a threat to me, so I can let it play out a little bit. So that's step 5. All right, step 6. I got this from Stephen Covey. It's one of his principles. Um, uh, it's seek first to understand, then to be understood. So if it's easy to want to talk about your position, make yourself understood, and if you can resist that temptation, and then really focus on, I want to make sure the other person knows that I understand them, then it's easier for them to try to understand me. So it's seek first to understand, then to be understood. So that's an order of operations. That's 1, then 2. It doesn't mean 1, then 0. It doesn't mean like seek first to understand, and then not say like here's what I want you to understand about me. I have to follow it up. It's just doing it in the right order that makes it so much easier. That's step 6. Step 7 is give, don't give in. So a lot of times when we get into a conflict, we start to view it as a win-lose proposition, and so we can not want to give an inch, not be generous, and that's not helpful. And so if there's a point where something is no skin off our nose and it's really going to benefit the other person, then we can afford to be generous, and we can afford to give that to the other person. So, for example, if the other person wants me to phrase something differently, it's just words. I can phrase something differently, and if that helps them feel more comfortable, then I can do that. And so I can be generous. I'm not losing anything by giving that away. At the same time, I want to not give in. So if there's something that's deep in my core that's important to me, then then I'm not going to compromise on that, because that's part of that win-win process. I'm also looking out for my own interests and my needs and values. So that's it. Step 8 is my win might be seeing the other person happy. So there might be a negotiation where I really don't want to do something. So it might be the newest Twilight movie, or it might be with my kids seeing Nemo for the 90th time. And I'm going to take no enjoyment out of the activity. But my enjoyment might be I really enjoy seeing them enjoy it. And that's my win. And so that's not compromising myself. Yeah, it's a little uncomfortable for me, but I realize what I'm getting out of that is that I'm enjoying their enjoyment of it. So that's step 8. Step 9 is I statements. So this is a lot more nuanced and complicated than I have time to go in here. I'll create another video for that. But the basic principles are I speak from my experience and I speak about what's going on my side of the fence. And so people have a hard time arguing with your experience. If you start to talk about them, like I think you're an asshole, then that's not speaking from your own experience. That's just you labeling the other person. So you're just going to focus on, like, I'm feeling this way. So you're going to talk about feelings instead of thoughts. And you're going to stick to your side of the fence. Like I said, I'll create another video on this because it is complicated. Step 10 is keep negotiating until all parties are happy. So stick with it. This is not a process where you can say, like, oh, I tried all the steps and it didn't work, and then I'm just going to throw it away. So you have to keep engaging in the process, keep sticking with it, keep following the steps I'm telling you about, and you'll eventually get to a point of finding a win-win solution for everybody. Step 11, unless you don't, there may be a process where we've followed all the steps. And so step 11 is maybe the relationship needs to end. And so this is the win-win or no deal. So if I can't find a solution that is we're all happy with, then maybe it's a problem with the relationship. So an example of this is one partner wants kids and the other doesn't. And so you might go through the reasons, you might talk about you might boil those solutions down to their essential elements, and still find, like, this is just not a good match. Um, that is something that we're going to have a hard time finding a win-win on. And so I can find my win-win, it just might be with another party. And if you do choose this option, then that's probably going to involve some loss and some mourning, and that's really sad. And so just experiencing that loss and also realizing that that's the right thing to do. That's going to be the mutually beneficial thing for you to do. And then if it doesn't, if you want to give it another go, you just go back to the top of the list and you start from number 1. And that is all 11 steps.